Chapter 91. The Return of the Unborn. 30 people in front of her blocked the way. Long Wenqing's eyes glared, and she was about to get angry, but Gu Hai suddenly stopped it. It wasn't that Long Wenqing couldn't solve it, but it wasn't appropriate to fight chaotically at this moment, because the surrounding tens of thousands of cultivators were staring. Not only these 30 people jumped out, there would be others who would jump out later. Gentlemen, we want to go in on our own. Are you guys making a path? Gu Hai said indifferently. Gu Hai's tone was calm, yet very cold as he stepped out and stared coldly at the 30 people. The opposite crowd frowned slightly. After all, during this period of time, they still knew something about Gu Hai's fierce reputation. Mr. Gu, we are the 92 Islands, 10,000 sea sect disciples, us, the cultivator said in a cold voice. But just halfway through his sentence, he was interrupted by Gu Hai. Gu Hai's face turned cold and said, I don't care who you are, I'll say it again. We want to go in on our own. Whoever stops us again will end up the same as all the disciples of the 4 major sects of the 95 Islands. As he spoke, Gu Hai stared into the other party's eyes, his eyes showing a cold light as he stepped forward once again. The 4 major sects of the 9 and 5 Islands, all the disciples. This has to be more than 20,000 disciples, right? And the end is the same. All killed by Gu Hai, being stared at by Gu Hai's eyes that were filled with a murderous aura. Recalling what happened to the 4 great sects, that cultivator's heart chilled. Gu Hai's gaze was ice cold as he stared at the cultivator at the very front and stepped forward one step at a time. Only at this moment did that cultivator feel that he was too abrupt just now. This is not a soft egg that is randomly needed. This is a murderous devil or 95 Island sect disciples, almost killed by him clean or he's still stupid to barge up. One step. Gu Hai was getting closer and closer to the cultivator. His eyes were staring at the cultivator's eyes, like a beast that chooses to devour people. Eyes by the Gu Hai staring. They cannot move away from the eyes. The Gu Hai of every step, as if stepping in their own hearts in general, that cultivator forehead out of a cold sweat. The previous bottom seems to be instantly disappeared in general, and even forget what they came to do as well. Just watching Gu Hai walk step by step, as if Gu Hai's body was getting bigger and bigger. Who are you? As Gu Hai walked to his side, the cultivator finally couldn't resist in his heart and retreated with his feet, making way. As the first person stepped aside, the others also stepped aside. Gu Hai brought Long Wenqing and the others and stepped through the center of the 30 cultivators. The 30 cultivators, however, were sweating profusely, but they no longer mentioned intercepting the crowd, as if they were lining up in 2 lines to welcome and send off Gu Hai and his party. When Gu Hai and his party left, only then did the crowd let out a long breath and looked at each other blankly. Just now, there was a lot of pressure. Everything seemed calm, yet bizarre. At least in the eyes of the other cultivators around. This scene was too weird. Gu Hai hadn't done anything to them at all or this group of people seemed like they were scared silly. All around, some cultivators seemed to be waiting for these 30 people to make a start, so that they could swarm up. But these 30 people suddenly went soft, which made the surrounding stupid cultivators do what? For a while, Gu Hai alone was a popular figure, as if he had suppressed the entire atmosphere. Step by step, he stepped towards the giant peony flower, and no one dared to come forward to stop him again. Long Wenqing looked at this scene blankly, her heart filled with bewilderment. Gu Hai, just now they were coming on strong. Why are they suddenly afraid? They came in force because a lot of people around them were stupid. They felt like they were part of the crowd. They were just beating a head against the wall. There were a lot of people, and their hearts were full of confidence, so they weren't afraid of us. I stared into their eyes, ice cold straight to the heart, giving them a psychological feeling of I'm only targeting you, making their egos feel a great isolation. Loneliness is one of the most feared emotions in a person. They are suddenly afraid. so they naturally get out of the way, Gu Hai explained in a low voice. Loneliness. Long Wanqing looked at Gu Hai unexpectedly. The tens of thousands of cultivators here not a hole in themselves. They are all defensive of each other. I'm just amplifying this emotion. That's why that group of people had the emotion of loneliness just now, Gu Hai explained. Long Wanqing looked at Gu Hai with a complicated expression. Was this exploiting the weakness of human nature for their own use? The group continued to walk towards the peony flower. After a period of calm in the surroundings, another group of 50 people finally rushed up to intercept Gu Hai. However, as usual, Gu Hai's group once again passed through the center of the 50 people very smoothly, and many of the cultivators who watched revealed a bewildered look. What's going on? It's like this again. They've already rushed up. Why are they suddenly beating a retreat? Are they stupid? Why are they dodging again? The surrounding cultivators revealed bewilderment. Once, the crowd still had the heart to target Gu Hai. Twice, they felt weird. When Gu Hai calmly passed through the middle of 100 cultivators, who seemed to have been hit by a fixation spell for the third time, the entire crowd of tens of thousands of people suddenly fell silent. No more cultivators rushed forward, only looking at the back of Gu Hai's group, revealing bewilderment and tangled colors. At this moment, Gu Hai's group had already walked to the peony flower. On the surface of the peony flower, it seemed as if there were countless clouds and mist, and the interior was hazy. The crowd paused slightly. Gu Hai took a deep breath, took a step, and stepped onto a petal of the peony flower. As Gu Hai's first foot stepped on it, Long Wanqing, Gu Qin and the others followed. At this moment, the surrounding cultivators didn't have the heart to think. They could only watch patiently. 9-5 Island, the original King sect. With the destruction of the King sect, Gu Hai had sent people to station here, and after a few months, the King sect had regained some popularity, with a large number of ordinary troops stationed there, and had begun to excavate spirit stone mines. On top of the mountain peak, where Long Wanqing used to live, at the moment, there was a Gu Mansion's shopkeeper who was constantly keeping score, and a large amount of spirit stones were being excavated every day. The mountain peak was bustling with noise. Buzz. Steeply, the space on the mountain peak was overlapping. The faces of the surrounding crowd changed. However, they saw that the mouth of the stacked and swirling void suddenly stepped out of a figure wearing a black and white robe, half black and half white, slowly stepping out and landing on top of the small square on the mountain peak. An old shopkeeper's eyes lit up and immediately put down his brush and walked up. The old shopkeeper gave a slight salute to the person who had suddenly arrived and said, "I, shopkeeper of the ancient mansion, have met the unliving elder." The unliving man who stepped out into the void said in a deep voice. One person opened his mouth, but it was two voices, one childish and one old. Senior unliving person, my master, Gu Hai, asked me to stand guard here, and asked me to inform you that Grandmaster Liu Nian has returned, and that Hall Master Long Wanqing is unharmed. They went to the peony sect together. My family's old master is at the Gu Mansion, ready to congratulate Senior for traveling there, the old shopkeeper spoke. Oh, the insane man said indifferently. Oh yes, this is the news from 8 days ago. Every 10 days, the old master will have new news coming in. And that was the case 8 days ago, the old shopkeeper respectfully said. The insane stared at the old shopkeeper for a while, and finally nodded. Peony sect, where is it? The unliving man said indifferently. Oh yes, the old master gave me a map of the 9-5 Islands. Senior, wait a moment, the old shopkeeper respectfully said. Quickly finding a map, he was about to go forward and hand it to the unliving. Don't come over. The insane man probed his hand and waved. Who are you? It was like a gust of wind from the ground, blowing the old shopkeeper to the ground. The map also fell to the ground. Senior, I have no intention to offend. The old shopkeeper fell to the ground and said blankly. It's not that you've offended me, but I have a ghost beside me, and the popularity of your body will harm her to a certain extent, the Unborn said indifferently. Huh, the old shopkeeper revealed a trace of bewilderment. There was only the unliving person in front of him. Ah, there was a ghost. With a probing hand, the map on the ground landed in the unliving man's hands. With a move of the Unshengren's probing hand, a small porcelain bottle was thrown to the old shopkeeper. This pill is for you, the unliving man said indifferently. Pa, the old shopkeeper received the elixir. However, he saw that the Unshengren merely looked at the map, and his foot slightly stepped. Buzz, the unliving man suddenly disappeared into thin air, as if he hadn't been here. The old shopkeeper looked at the elixir in his hand, looked at the place where the unliving person had disappeared, and immediately got up and gave a respectful salute. Many thanks to Senior for giving me the immortal elixir. Peony sect. Tens of thousands of cultivators watched from the periphery as Guhai crossed into the peony flower world. Another batch of people have gone in. The people in front of them either died in the place of the living chess, or got caught up in the dead chess with no news. They don't know how they are doing. Guhai's chess power is extraordinary. Maybe it will be different. But, did you see that? That's Old Man Chess Observer's puppet. Old Man Chess Observer. Is Guhai's chess power stronger than Old Man Chess Observer's? The Earth Dragon Vein. It's only in the Thousand Island Sea that there aren't many strong people fighting for it. After all, the Thousand Island Sea is too barren in the eyes of the people of the divine continent Earth. How could they possibly think that there would be an Earth Dragon Vein here? Although there are many Earth Dragon Veins in the divine continent Earth, but the strong people there are also terrifying, fighting for the Dragon Veins. The cultivation level is at least Yuanying realm. How is it like us here? Just any innate realm can go and fight. Guhai is at the innate realm. Can he get the Dragon Vein? I think he's going to seek death. Tens of thousands of cultivators were talking for a while. There were those who admired Guhai, those who were jealous, and those who were neutral spectators, but, in most people's hearts, they all wanted this Dragon Vein, and were waiting for their chance outside, perhaps. Countless cultivators waited patiently, and Guhai's group walked into the stamen of the peony flower. Once we enter it, we won't be able to get out. Long Wanqing looked at Guhai worriedly. There's no harm. Haven't you gone out before? Guhai laughed. Long Wanqing bit her lip and probed her hand to take out a bracelet-sized gold ring and handed it to Guhai. Guhai, it's me who dragged you into this. This dragon fixing ring can take you to escape. The dragon fixing ring is for you. In case you can't solve the chess game, escape yourself. Guhai unexpectedly looked at Long Wanqing. The dragon fixing ring is given to me. What about you? I asked for it. If I can't get out, I can't get out. It's me who dragged you guys down. Long Wanqing smiled bitterly. Guhai stared at Long Wanqing for a while, and finally smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. Compared to playing chess, I've never lost before. You must take it." Long Wanqing stiffly shoved it to Guhai, staring at Long Wanqing for a moment. Although Long Wanqing could be confused at times, she was ultimately a person of nature. "All right, I'll take it first, but don't worry, since I dared to come in, I'll definitely be able to take you guys out." A confidence flashed in Guhai's eyes. Long Wanqing bit her lips and nodded. Turning his head, Guhai looked towards the huge chessboard, the white raw chessboard. On the opposite side of the chessboard was sitting an old man with white hair and white clothes. Guhai recognized it at a glance. The old man chess viewer program puppet that had entered his brow in the heavenly remnant realm. In the past was exactly the same as the one in front of him. "Been waiting for you for a long time. Come and play." The white-haired old man on the opposite side said with a faint smile. "Hey, he knows righteous father." Guqin frowned in surprise. Long Wanqing shook her head with an odd expression on her face. "No, he says this to everyone. The master said that this puppet might have been waiting for someone to arrive. Don't know who, but says this to everyone.